So just so everyone knows we're recording. So
Perfect. So let's talk a little bit before we go on a little bit of tuning hammer holding specifically for grands, because we don't do that a lot just because we don't have access to the grand right here in the studio. So just as kind of the food for thought, there's some kind of do's and don'ts that I've found over the years. And so I've seen a lot of people kind of just stay right here when they're tuning, and they're just kind of way over here. And I've never found that to be something that gives me good tuning stability and tuning just movement. And so what I've done is always do something more like this. And so literally my pinky is kind of draped over the very end, and my thumb is I'm basically encapsulating as much of the wood handle as possible while I'm tuning a grand. So again, this is the process for a grand piano that I have done. Again, to each their own, but this is what it looks like for me out of tuning all of those pianos. For the upright, where Justin's at, I'm doing more of this moment, and I've seen people kind of go like this, and I think that's just a lot on your shoulder. So giving the height and being right up here is a good idea. And so because you're going to want to kind of rock it back and forth like this to a point. And so you being down here is going to put a lot of weird pressure on the rotator cuff, as opposed to being able to kind of manipulate it right here. So just that's kind of the basics. Again, Justin, it looks like a smaller console piano. And those are going to be one of the most difficult ones to tune, because you kind of can't quite sit and you can't quite stand. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been sitting and bracing my elbow on the top here.
Yep.
This is how I've been doing it.
Yep.
Because it's really
and that's
sore.
totally fine. And so, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Let's do some grand. Then we're going to go with Justin with the upright, and then we'll go back to like Victor. But let's go ahead and see kind of how you've been doing it, Robert. And then we can kind of look at it together and go from there. Are you able to pivot the lid up on that one, Robert? Oh, he's got one of those self-focusing ones. That's pretty cool. Oh, I love it. This is great. Perfect, man. And this is something that that I always do, is I will always lift the lid. Usually, I will only leave the lid down if there's so many pictures and so many things on the piano that I'm like, I can't get all this off of there. I'm just going to leave it. This is perfect. Good posture right there. So notice how Robert is doing the exact thing that you want to do. He's not sitting perpendicular to the piano. He's sitting parallel to the strings, or excuse me, parallel to the keys. And so he's moved his whole body from, instead of just trying to tune it right here, he's going like this to it, which is perfect. Good job. Good job. Oh, perfect. You're going, look.
I've just tuned the one grand, and this sounds kind of selfish because I'm tuning these pianos for free, and the people letting me in their home, and I might screw it up, but I don't want to tune mine yet.
Yeah.
Screw it. So this is really the first note that I've done on this, but I'm just doing one string down here, the last of the unwound strings. So. So, and then I'll just.
Hey, Robert, can you put the hammer down like that, and then show the class, like lift your arm up and show them the exact position that your arm is in right now. Just lift that up so they can see it. Yep. And so if you look at Robert's arm, if you go, yep, you got the square right there. So this magic square, if you look at his arm, is just like this. And this is right there, this magic square. And that's what he's engaging in while he's doing that. And that's perfect. He's not way over here. He's not like this. He's not like that. He's right as he needs to be, and he's engaging his upper body right here and all these muscles. It's fantastic.
I found that my elbow hurts more on a grand. I just tuned a small console earlier, so I get the back, and I didn't know whether to stand or sit, but I felt like my back hurt more because I stood and kind of crouched on that.
Yes.
But I might try the technique that I can't remember his name. He's talking about
Justin.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. No, that's great. And so let's hear as you go, bring a unison kind of out of alignment and bring it back, because I want to hear kind of how you're doing your blows. Well,
okay.
Okay, perfect. I have what I would recommend doing. You're doing it just the right amount of stiffness in your blow. That's right where it needs to be. But I would recommend holding the note out longer. My finger never comes off the note now that I'm doing it. It doesn't fully lift off. It's always holding on to that. Probably 2 or 3 seconds. I'm holding it every time to really see it. So,
all right.
Yeah, and that'll allow your ears to lock in on what you're hearing, and your body kind of almost gets to the point where it's feeling it.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you're doing more of you're not letting it linger, and you're not letting your body capture what's there.
Okay.
That's great. That's awesome. So, Justin, let's go ahead and we're going to kind of move back and forth as people feel like they can do it. So, Justin's going to do this technique where it looks like he's going to be sitting down, which is fine. And he's doing right where he needs to be, where he's parallel right there. If he was going to stand next to it, Justin, if you were going to stand, what would it look like? Wow. So that's pretty.
Yeah. So
that's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty. So if he was going to stand on it, so what he's doing is perfect. He's going parallel right here with these strings. But if he was going to stand at it, he would kind of really get in, spread his legs, get in really close, and kind of get his body into the piano board. That's the technique there. But since that's very short, so he's definitely going to want to go ahead and sit down on that one.
I don't know. We could tune Fisher Price pianos.
Oh, this is great.
I had someone text me. They're like, "Can you tune this little electric toy piano?" I was like, "I was warned to stay away from plastic stuff."
So, and then as far as the tuning goes with this one, Justin, he's going to be going and, definitely. Again, I'm just going to show you an example of this one. So if I'm down here on the hammer, I can't really get it just where I want it. But if I'm up here, and you notice how much of my hand is actually open when I'm tuning. On the up pull, yeah, I am holding it like there, but everything else is pretty much. Justin, you want to give it a try and see how those tuning pins feel?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, I'm hitting the wrong key.
That's okay. I've done that so many times. I think that's good. The blow that you're doing, it was great. My only thing is, I would recommend getting used to, and again, granted, we're kind of in this classroom setting, so you may do it differently when it's not that, but definitely get to the point where you're using this technique so you're using you want to use your middle finger, and your pointer finger is on top of it. So
Yeah.
that is bracing it.
I've just been using my thumb because I can just like rest on my legs while I'm doing it.
Oh, that's true. I just know that with your thumb, the least that you can use these little joints, the better. So when
Yeah.
I'm doing it, I'm kind of getting my whole arm, and it's using bigger muscle groups so they won't get as fatigued. That's awesome. Victor, my man, you're up. Victor's an old pro at this. He's looking at me with a hammer like that. You just know it.
No. Now that I'm doing it in front of everybody, I'm not gonna be able to tune a unison.
Yeah, I know. I remember I got asked in front of a PTG meeting to do it, and I was like 5 years into it, and I was doing pretty good. I literally didn't even know what to do. I was so nervous in front of all these like old timers, and I was like, and they finally like, get off.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let me see if I can get my a better camera angle. Oh,
So that's perfect. So yeah, we can see that. That's great.
Okay. Can you see my hand? Okay.
Yeah, and I love, Victor, how long you're holding the notes and really getting the full feel of it. What would it look like for you to embrace that hammer with your whole hand instead of just the ball? Does that feel any different to you? Does that feel better?
Mm-hmm. So you mean
Yep.
Can you explain that a little
exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
instead
with
of
the thumb, like you were saying?
Yeah, instead of holding it right here, trying to see, and I know that's a different style of hammer, but what would it feel? Yeah, to actually move your whole hand. So instead of just being on the ball, you're more on the entirety of the hammer itself.
Okay.
Yeah, like that. Does that feel like you have any more control, or not really, or?
It was a little easier coming up.
Yeah, coming up especially.
Yeah. Coming up, and of course going down, yeah, I'm really not holding it with these fingers. I'm just kind of pushing with my palm.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would play around with that, because you might find that you're getting a lot of just nice little adjustments with that technique that you might be missing out on by holding it up here.
Okay. Yeah. So just
awesome.
try to use the thumb on the bottom and
exactly.
the pinky over. Yeah.
And so, can you demonstrate again, because that was perfect, the how you were doing those blows, because the length of time and how you were doing that is just pretty spot on. So if you could try that a unison like that again.
Yeah.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah. No,
that's
that
great
feels
job.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would just recommend playing around with that a little bit, as again, a lot of what we're trying to give you is different tools. You can decide to pick them up and use them or not. You know, it's just here's ideas that what we've learned over the years. Joel, are you going to be tuning some piano, or not?
Sure, why not?
Awesome. So you got a tall. You must be sitting down, or is this just a really tall upright?
No, right now I'm sitting down. It's
okay.
Hammond by Straub, 1925, patent double repeated action something.
Awesome.
So
awesome. Yeah, I'm curious. So, do you usually sit or stand on something like this?
Since you told me to, I usually stand.
Perfect. So go ahead.
Now when I have the console piano, I don't always.
The back of your posture here too, and so with something like this, he's going to tuck his body in towards it. Exactly. Yeah, we can't hear it, but that's okay. That's okay. Great. I think the only thing I could recommend was the closer you get into this position, the more control you're going to have, and that would look like this. I know it's really weird and it's kind of awkward looking. I mean, so you can see me right. Yeah. So I am I've made, isn't this what's it called? A yoga pose where you kind of go like this?
Warrior
That's kind of what
one.
I'm doing. I'm kind of doing this yoga pose. I think it's like the warrior pose. And then I'm kind of crouching in on it a little bit, but my back leg right here is kind of straight in line. Because if I'm up here, I'm putting a lot more tension. If I'm up here, I'm putting a lot more tension on this weird shoulder. But if I'm here low, it's just, I mean, this is literally what it looks like, about like this, about right here. So I have this almost line of sight. So I get to the point where I'm basically like this tuning. So it's not this, and a full size upright, I'm about here. So it's almost to my ear in some cases. Kind of like when you're shooting a bow, you know? And so we're just gonna make sure I'm telling you the right thing, because it's one of those things you don't know exactly what you're doing until you show people. And again, I'm keeping it within about 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Yeah, so I'm keeping it right around here. So again, that's my technique. Everybody can do things a little bit different. That's okay, but that's just something that I found over the years of doing it. It keeps me nice and tight into the piano, and I've just had that as my protocol. Let's see, going to a gallery view. Stacy, I can't see. Is there anybody else that has pianos that wants to share or wants to ask questions? Questions about this that we've covered so far?
I think everyone showed their pianos it's going to. That was actually, you guys, that was really cool to see.
You did great.
Like, I know
This
that's
is
like
the first
really
time.
like kind of vulnerable, like, hey, critique me, but like total safe space. In fact, I should have done mine just so you could have like teased me. So yeah, any questions?
David, when you tune a console or a spinet piano, do you sit or do you stand?
I always sit with a spinet piano. Every time. I'm always sitting in a spinet piano. I would say, depending on how much sleep I got, I'll stand or sit at a console.
Okay.
And so, because some of the consoles are taller than others, and so it's one of those things that sometimes, sometimes it's easier just to stand on some of the consoles. But I'm listening to my body as I go. If I'm like, wow, I'm feeling a lot of low pressure here in my lower back, I'm going to go ahead and just sit down. What it does is, it means that your arm is going to be raised higher, just like Justin. His arm was, a little higher than I would normally like, but that's just kind of, you're either going to put more pressure on your back or put more pressure up here on your arm. And a lot of times, if I'm really feeling it, I'd rather put more pressure on my arm for a time. And so that's just kind of how I normally do it. For uprights, full-size uprights in studios, I'm standing every time. And I know it's different. I'm roughly 6 feet. And I know it's different depending on how tall or how much shorter you are than that. And because I know that a lot of shorter technicians, they'll stand. We had this one technician, I think he was like 5'1". And so he was, on the shorter side, and he would just stand at upright grand pianos as well. And he had really good success. He did the same technique. So he would be like this, but standing right next to it. I really do recommend sitting, though, when you can. At any opportunity, I can sit at a piano and I feel like I have good, technique, I'll sit. Just give myself a break, because if you're doing 4, 5, 6, 7 tunings in a day, that's a lot. compounded over however many days, that's a lot. And so your body will get used to it. Just so you know, whenever we get technicians, usually they come to us and they're like, yeah, I tune 1 or 2 pianos a week. And we're like, great, we're going to teach you how to tune 4 a day. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And it is a learning curve, and their body has to get used to it.
David, have you found standing up or sitting down you hear differently? I feel like when I stand up I hear a lot better. Well, not a lot better, but it is different than sitting.
I feel like when I am Ooh, that's a great question. When I am standing, I do feel like I can hear it better because I'm closer in. But that's different than a grand piano. When I'm at a grand piano, I feel like I hear grand pianos better than uprights because it's my right ear. It's inside the belly more. And I feel like I'm able to hear it a little bit better, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I had to play around with that. If I can't hear something, usually I'll stand up and I can get it done. But
Are there any left-handed tuners here? Raise your
is
hand if you're a left-handed tuner. Oh, yeah, that's right, Joel.
I was gonna ask, do you know anybody that tunes both? Like, I know somebody that tunes grands right-handed and uprights left-handed.
I do. In fact, one of my mentors was like training me, and he got to the point where he was like training me how to do better tuning, and I wasn't willing, or I didn't know how to do the ambidextrous, and he kind of like wrote me off because he's like, I just want you to be able to do it both ways, and I couldn't. So I do know people that are like that, and they swear by it. And I mean, I would recommend, if you can, get really ambidextrous, because like, for instance, I'm very ambidextrous with my regulation adjustments. I can do left hand or right hand, whether it's let off, whether it's dip, but when it comes to the tuning, for whatever reason, it just that doesn't compute for me. But if you can get used to using both hands with like spoon bending, that's great as you kind of are able to move along.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I mean, I know customers probably can be pretty finicky about their floors, but what are your thoughts about like an adjustable height workbench, or like even like a drum throne to bring along?
As far as something that you would take into customers' houses, it's a great idea. And as long as you have it, you'll put those little, cushions and you should be fine. I've just never had that be an issue. Funny enough, I have gone to pianos where they didn't even have a bench. And I'm like, what do you use? And they're like, well, I just use a dining chair or a stool and stuff like that. And that's fine. But no, I think that's an interesting idea. I've just never done it. And if you got something that's lightweight enough and adjustable, I think that'd be pretty cool.
I've got something for you if that's what you want. It's called a.
Is that what you got
there?
Yeah. Is that a drummer's chair?
No, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's like what they use in a nail salon, like that.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, because that height for different consoles and uprights.
Yeah, that could be really good. That's a really good point. Yeah, I like that. I've never tried that. Other questions? I know that we did get sent a lot of questions, which is great. And by the way, by proxy, I have to welcome you all to kind of the Artisan family. This is the Artisan mentoring program. So you guys are all part of the Artisan family now. So welcome. As you can see, there's a little bit different setup, studio and stuff like that. And both Stacy and I and our whole team here are really glad that you guys are here, and we'll continue to learn how to work on pianos and not hurt ourselves and make customers happy.
Every time I go to a guild meeting, I'm pushing this. I'm like, go to PTA Connect, and like, there's not a price, right now.
Yeah.
And I even talked to a few alumni from the academy, and they're like, yeah, I did it back in the past, but it wasn't enough to engage me. I was like, it's changed. Like, they're really, really engaging. So I make sure that I'll write it down before they leave.
Awesome.
So hopefully some will show up.
Yeah, no, it all helps. And again, it's one of those things that the more people we have, the more ideas, the more examples. It's just so fun. The more people. Eventually, we'll have so many people that we'll probably have to do different times during a day, like a morning class, or just because we'll have to split it up. Because I imagine once we really start to hone this in and show people, it'll start to take off. Stacy, you want to get to some of these questions?
Yes, let's do it.
Got some good ones.
Okay. Let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and we'll just start going through questions. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
All right. First one, David Wilkinson. He couldn't be here today, but he did send a video in and jack repair. Okay, you
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Okay. So, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get my action model, and I know exactly what this is, and I'm just gonna apologize to you, David. This is not gonna be a fun repair.
Oh, just be honest. We can handle it. It's so fun to get your guys' questions. I love these questions. I love it when you send videos because like I can show these. Like, so definitely send them in if you have them. I think it's super helpful.
Press play again on that, would you?
In the upright actions.
Oh, play it again. Yeah, here we go.
So the thing that is very obvious in this example, in this video, if you can play it one more time, Stacy, is look
Sure.
at how off center that jack is. That's the big giveaway right here. So if you see it, it's that jack is off to the right-hand side by quite a bit. And so what that is in this case is very common. Use this camera so we can see it. What that is this. You have your jack right here. And there's this jack flange. And as you can see, this jack flange is actually glued in. And what has happened in this case is that that jack flange here has become dislodged. And so it's probably, the glue joint has broken. And what has to happen is he needs to lift this up, break the rest of the glue joint loose, lift it up, put some glue underneath here, and press it back into place. That is, my friends, not a fun repair because it looks like he's got a spinet, and that is going to be a little bit of a bear. He may be able to use some tweezers like this, lift up that jack flange, and with another tool with a little bit of glue, drip it right into the base, and then try to force this in. But this is going to be a nice game of operation for you, David, and I don't envy you.
Oh.
Well, you can do it. You got this. But that's most likely what it is. It's with the jack. It's not a pinning issue. It's the flange itself has become dislodged from the whip-in assembly. Great question.
Okay, next one. Next question from Bruce. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but he said, okay, what about when it's just not a great piano and I've poured my heart into tuning it for a couple hours and it still sounds really bad when I'm done. He says it's in tune, but its tune is crummy sounding, he said. I love it. I can't imagine voicing work is going to help much. It's just a low-end 40-year-old piano. Is this normal? It's frustrating. Several spinets and a bad baby grand. Just, yeah. What's your advice?
This is very typical. In fact, mostly with spinets, I've noticed that when I'm done tuning it, I'm like, this just doesn't sound great. I play my octaves and they just sound weird and it sounds dull or it sounds thin. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually ask the customers and then I'll just do a little bit of a voicing technique. I'll just do this. I'll just simply take my needling tools and I'll just puncture, just doing kind of a simple, what we call like an angel shot right in between where the strings are, or maybe just below them. And that will soften and warm the piano up to where it really, especially on the shorter spinets and consoles, it will make it drastically better. And it sounds warm and has a kind of this buttery smoothness to it. So I would experiment with that. Maybe if you're around a piano that, they're cool with you doing that, just say, I'm going to voice it, soften the hammers, just make sure they're extra fine with that. But that is the way that I've fixed those in the past, Bruce. And there's not a lot of things that you can do around it. Sometimes it's a scaling issue, the way the strings are made and designed and meant to be. Sometimes it's just, this is a short 4'0" grand piano or spinet, and it has not a lot of sound to it. And it just jumbles together when you're playing it. So most likely you're going to be critiquing it more than they ever will. And usually you're going to have the higher expectations than they will. So just kind of know that too.
Can you show what you
Okay.
did again, David? I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Could you show what you did again to your voicing technique real quick?
Yeah, I'm going to go get a voicing needle. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Stacy, you should learn some jokes. You can just tell them a joke when I leave.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that okay? I can do that. Oh, okay. Okay, let me think of something. I can think of something. I was just talking to one of my techs today. He said pianists, oh, it was a good point. He says pianists feel with their ears and hear with their hands. Interesting. I think that's very true. Like when you're pianists. It's not a joke, but I thought it was profound. When they're describing the piano. Yeah. Okay, we're ready for you.
Ready for me? This should have a bass to it, but it doesn't. So here's 3 kind of simple voicing tools. This should have like a little wood base on it, but somehow it's not there. You have your chopstick tool, and you have kind of your larger hammer single needling tool. So what I typically do is I'm a stickler for saving space. So I'll usually just have these 2 in my kit. And I'll usually just for simple voicing use this guy. And usually it'll have a needle, but I took it out because I don't want to poke myself. But I'm going to show you with the full needle. Okay. Let's do this. Okay, so here's your hammer. You're at your spin it piano, and you're like, okay, I need to voice this. I want to voice this. And here's what I would do. Simply taking your needling tool, I hold the hammer back. Go like this. Okay, yeah, that's a good shot. So I will kind of brace my hammer by holding it back against the back rail like this. I'll come in and simply underneath the strings, go like that. So again, you can usually see your string grooves right there. You'll be able to see some amount of them. And I'll go below the string grooves at each string like that. See that? Did that come through? Again, I'm bracing the hammer back, and I'm going below those string grooves on the actual groove itself, down. And this technique works wonders. And if it didn't do enough, what would you do? Simply come up more towards the strike point. So you're going to start low, but as you test it out, you're like, you know what? I went really low the first time, 3 pokes. It didn't do a lot. So now I'm going to go up a little higher towards the strike point. I'm going to go right in the middle, go down like that. And that will drastically change the tone. And you'll be surprised how pleasant that makes the piano sound. Great question. Trying to think what other tools I'm going to be asked to demonstrate, and so I'm just going to go back and forth. I'm going to go ahead and work on filling up this thing with some good tools, though. So.
Michael isn't here tonight, but he wanted to
Look at that, everyone.
Some back rail cloth. I'm just super impressed. He just jumped right in. He and Janice
are
just
look at the back row. It looks so clean and pristine.
Yeah, it looks really good. He found it.
Oh, nice. So this is do's and don'ts. My guess, can anybody guess what happened here? Anybody? Why is there 1 coil on that pin?
Did they cut the string too short?
I actually think it's an original string. I think it could be that it's original string. It broke at the Beckett or broke there. And what they did is they tried to make the original string work, in which case I'm kind of like kudos to you. So let's just kind of think of it that way, and not that the technician cut the string too short.
That's good. Yeah. Okay. Do you always find it necessary to adjust every pin for every tuning? Except for pitch raises, I found myself. Oh, we kind of went over this last time.
Yeah, I don't tune every pin.
Yes,
in fact,
so yeah, good at that.
And to go over that again, that's a good one to go over though. But no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In fact, a lot of times if it's close enough, and especially in the high treble, in like the last 4 or 5 notes, I'll kind of just leave it. Just because I'm like, I can't even tell a difference. It's not making a big deal. I could spend 20 minutes on these dozen notes. Nope. I'm just going to kind of go through it.
This is a good question. Yeah, well, many minor repairs, you don't have to take out the action, but how often do your techs end up having to take out the action for a service call like repinning a flange, adjusting grand damper rods, or when do you tell a customer this requires me to take it to the shop? Do you still want it
Good
done?
question.
It's a good
Good
question.
question. I would say 9 times out of 10, we are not removing that action. We're able to remove the flanges and things of that nature, no problem. We kind of have a rule of thumb as if we can do a repair within 15 minutes, we'll usually do it then and there. And so that's kind of the threshold. If it's going to take more than that, then really we want to take as much time as it needs. And since we warranty and guarantee everything, we're going to want to do it right. And in which case we're actually going to charge them for that. So that's typically what we do is we're like, okay, to do this repair would take a solid half an hour. It could be more. We're going to set up a return visit for me to come back. I'll make sure that I have the right parts and the right time to do that. And they're usually the customer is more than willing and they understand that. Because you can either do one of two things. You can give yourself just enough time to go into the appointments early on. Usually you have more than enough time to do something like this because you're not stacked with appointment after appointment. But as you get more busy, as you get more customers, you're going to kind of have a more stack to stack in a day. And so you're only going to have a certain amount of time per appointment. So what we've done is like, if anything is going to take you more than 15 minutes, not only are we going to set up, a charge for it at the next time, but things that don't take 15 minutes or less, we're not going to charge. So that's kind of how we've done it. And I would say that 9 out of 10 repairs on a day, you're able to do in 15 minutes or less. And in fact, Stacy, are you able to pull up right now just so that everybody can see our TSP?
Mhm.
And so within our company, Artisan Piano Services, we have a series of expectations that we have for every technician to be able to go out into the field. And these are great for you all to kind of just mow over and just have in the back of your mind, okay, these are the repairs that should take 15 minutes. This is what Artisan does. So it'll be a way to kind of check yourself. And it also has our different packages that we offer so that you can kind of have an idea. So this is on our website. And it's free, it's available for you all, but it just has a rough idea of what the expectations are. We even have protocols, and these are good to have too, just so you all know, the documentation, communication, presentation, and then of course the expectations in your tech skill levels. And so it shows you kind of roughly what the expectations are and why we have them, what you need to be able to do, diagnosing, proper string ties, ease of keys, repairing an existing piano shank, stuff like that. And then if we go down, we actually go into more of the regulation adjustments. You need to know how to do all of these adjustments. Not necessarily that you have to be able to do them all in one shot, but a lot of times you'll be like, okay, there's one sticking damper. Luckily, I know how to bend a spoon. So we don't need the technicians to be able to do a complete revamp of the regulation before they go out in the customer's house, but they do need to know how to do a specific adjustment. Does that make sense? And I think if you go down, there's the different packages we offer. And as the technicians level up, they go from being able to do a bronze package, which is just a very simple one, into a silver and then a gold package, which is more and more work. And then we also have expectations as far as, the cleaning, how long it should take, and what they should be able to do. And then finally, our technician levels 1 through 5 are 4, and what the expectation is, as far as that goes. So that's just kind of a free done for you document that's really good to kind of just check yourself, because there's never really been anything like that we've been able to find. So we just said, I guess we're going to make one. So here's one of ours until maybe the industry creates its own.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and it's so that's so smart to like under 15 minutes. That's why it's so important to be able to tune under an hour and have that little buffer for those things. And then you're able to say on the phone, like if someone calls me and is like, is it going to cost extra for these things? I have a sticky key. Then you can say, well, if it's something we can do at the service appointment and it's only like a 15-minute thing, we can do it there. And if it's more, if there's a part that needs to be replaced or something, we can quote that on site is usually what I say. But
Yep.
yeah. Okay. Damper questions. Are we ready for dampers? Okay.
I'm
Circle
gonna
the
take a
red.
drink. Here we go.
There's a grand damper not covering all the strings evenly. Yep, we can see it.
Yep.
Where would I twist with the pliers to adjust
So
it?
it's either going to be touching the string for one of two reasons. One is it's not I'll be right back.
It's gonna grab the action. I'll make sure I'll make sure I have some jokes next time, I guess, you guys. I guess I need.
Stacy,
Oh my gosh.
Stacy,
I'm not ready.
there's a Facebook group called Piano Technician Memes.
Oh, I'm on it all the
Are
time.
you on it?
I have
Yeah.
so many. Do you know I share that with my it's actually really funny.
It's
And I
so
was sharing
fun.
it with all my texts and they thought I was coming up with them. And I'm like, actually, these aren't mine, guys. I've just borrowed. So, okay, we're ready.
You ready? All right, I'm going to try to do this. Here we go. We're doing this. We're doing dampers, y'all. Okay. Here we go. This is what we're looking at. So these are the damper wires, the damper heads. So usually there's several things at play. If it's one of those issues where the damper itself just needs to be pivoted over, that's one thing, in which case you would use some needle nose pliers and you would go down here and just down below here, hold on to it and then just move it from side to side, and then that would move the head left to right. The other thing it can be is this. You see that? That is a bent damper head. And so sometimes that's the case, in which case you would simply lift it up and bend it back in line with the others. And a lot of times that will fix the issue right there. So depending on if it needs to be pivoted, which would be down here, or if the head itself needs to be just straightened, that would be up here. There's one more thing which we've never gotten into, and we're going to have to do a whole thing on it. And that is the final one, which is this adjustment right here. And nobody really teaches about it because it's really difficult. This right here is another adjustment. Has anybody ever made this adjustment? This is a weird one, in which case you actually loosen up, remove the damper entirely and the wire, rebend at this point, and that will pivot and change the amount of spacing. So we're going to go over that at some point because that's a really critical one that they show you in the factories, but most field technicians have no idea that that is an actual adjustment that you can make. And so
But
I will
that first one,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, that first one though, you have to take the action out to get to the needle.
First one, yes, correct.
So this lady. I want to go back and help her, but I've just taken about one grand action, and so I'm just not ready yet. But I could do that at her house and then just make those adjustments as needed inside.
Is the reason you have to is that one string bleeding out?
Yeah, it has an overtone to it,
okay.
An aftertone that rings out. So
yeah, one of the things I've done if I'm in a pinch and I'm like, okay, is simply take some pliers and kind of crimp over that felt so it is actually touching that final string. And so that's more of a Band-Aid fix, but I've found that it actually has pretty good success. Question.
Okay, here's another one. Wait, we
All
did that. Okay, you ready?
Oh yeah.
Here's another damper. Damper one is just barely off the string. Yeah, not even with the others. How would you fix that? The arrow, okay. The arrow I think points to a return spring, but it's out of its slot, but doesn't appear to make a difference when I put it back in.
Okay. So I'm guessing what this is one of two things. Going back to this guy. So So we're talking about this damper right here. And it's going to be in line with the others. So it could be that right here where it's connecting to the pivoting rod, this is the damper kind of rod right here. It could be that this felt is so worn that it's on this for whatever reason, or that felt has fallen down, that it's changing the amount that this is lifting off the strings. Does that make sense? This is braced by some felt right there. And if that's removed or inhibited in some way, that would limit how much it's lifting off the strings. The only other thing it could be usually is this, that this damper is pivoted, this wire is pivoted too far forward against this string. And so when I go to lift it, it's only lifting a little ways. And so that would be a bend here on the wire itself. And the way you would check that is simply feather the pedal, the damper pedal, and see if that's lifting way late or way early. And then you'll know, okay, I need to pivot this and bend it back or forward. Good question.
All right. Got another one. Okay. Rand pedal rod pushing up against the damper rail. There is a bit too much play in this rod in this very old book. It looks like some felt was added to reduce that. To reduce it more, would I just add more felt on top?
Yeah, I would recommend replacing that felt if it's fairly worn. I would also look and see if the if there is a damper adjustment rod below where the lyre is, to see if that is adjustable. But yeah, if not, I've had to just insert more felt and things of that nature, shims, if you will, to go ahead and take up that space. That's pretty common, is we're adding a lot of shims.
Okay, got this one, and then okay, this one comes with a video. Okay. Baldwin upright, notice the slow return. I've eliminated it. Anything key related, that part works fine. Is this a flange pin bushing? Okay, let's look at the video. Let's just pull that up. So cool that we can do this. Huh.
Yeah, what a crazy day, world that we live in that we can do that.
Oh no, just a second. It's down. I can do this. Don't worry. Here's a meme for you while you're. Okay. Oh, here we go.
Oh. Yeah, so the way you would tell if it's gonna be a tight hammer flange. It looks like a tight hammer flange as opposed to a tight whipping flange. So the way you would tell is first you would lift up on the whipping assembly right here, so that it's not dragging that back down, the hammer. And so you would actually, let me show you through this way.
Yeah, I flicked the hammer and it's just fine. It comes back quickly.
The hammer just comes back naturally and quickly.
Yes, very quickly. But when I did the whole assembly underneath, it was very slow. So that's probably the whipping.
It's probably the whipping. It's probably this guy right here. And so for whatever reason, I see this fairly common. So you're removing that whip and rebushing that right there. And I don't know why, but consoles seem to have that quite a bit. And I don't know, it's the strangest thing.
Do you have to take out the action to do that? I want the 15-minute repair, but
I know.
All these, like the grand piano damper wire, you still have to take out the action. So, okay.
You know what I think would be a fun class to do, or a series, is all these repairs, but we do it in 15 minutes. I show you the process. Here's how you would do that repair in 15 minutes. And we'll go through each one. Say, okay, we have a high hammer pan. Start the clock, Stacy. And here we go. And so that way you can see it from start to finish, not just with an action model, but with like an upright and a grand piano.
So you could do that in 15 minutes at a customer's house, taking out that action and getting it done.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
You will too, Robert. Eventually, you'll get there.
Someday.
That was all the, any other questions? Because that we have
Yeah.
everything submitted. So
I
yeah,
have-
any other questions?
Olivia.
Yeah, Olivia.
Okay, so hi, I'm Olivia. I just started the course like a month or so ago. I'm still on lesson 3 because I'm just trying to practice tuning octaves and tuning unisons. So a really great technician who lives down here near where I do in Long Beach gave me a couple of hammers, and they worked great on my friend's piano, but the 2 pianos I'm allowed to use here at work, it's been slipping a lot. And so, I mean,
Can I
these are
see the hammer that you're
standard.
talking about? Okay. And maybe a lot of times hammers have something like this. They'll have a series of lines. Does it have any lines right there?
Is
Okay,
that
so that's, yeah, that's
Mm.
interesting. So that's, wow, it looks like it's a
Well,
one.
so the connecting.
Huh. So, Olivia, what's it doing? Is it like literally not grabbing the pin?
So it'll go on, and then when I go to move it, it's like it does, it's like it very quickly goes to a stopping point and then very quickly goes to another stopping point. Like it's not grabbing it and having that even tension all the way around that I'm used to
Interesting.
on another piano that I've been working on.
Yeah. And is that the tuning lever that you got from the course?
No, it is not. This is what somebody gave me. A really nice, a really great technician down here. She just was, when I was kind of following her around one day, she's like, here, you can have these hammers. And I thought, okay, great. And this one's nice because it's heavy, which I
Yep.
like, because I feel like it's good for not having to put too much strain on my
Sure.
arm. But I mean, like it shouldn't be stripped already, right? Like these should last a long time. They shouldn't strip.
No, exactly. And so it just makes me wonder if there's something going on with what kind of pianos are the ones that you have at the school?
Oh, one's a Kawai. It's a nice Kawai, and every time I go in there to tune it, it doesn't need to be tuned. An
Okay.
upright. And then the other one is like Zouder, Shouter, something
Yeah.
like that.
Souter.
Is it a little bit newer within the
Souter with
last?
an S.
That's a good old German piano.
So what I'm almost wondering, Olivia, is that hammer almost looks like it has a singular ribbon on it, which almost makes me think that it's called a 1/0 tuning pin hammer. And so most pianos have 2. So we have a 2/0 tuning pin. So that means that hammer might be designed for something with smaller tuning pins. And so you're not getting full contact down at the pin.
Oh, yeah, because when it's almost feels like, yeah, it's weird because I put it on and it slips and I'm thinking it's too big, but you're saying maybe it's actually too small for it.
Yeah.
Is there any way, and like this screws off, of course, right here. So I guess there's no way to know if there's like a separate kind of head I could buy as opposed to buying a whole new
There
hammer.
are. No, there are. We just don't know what hammer that is. But if you go on to, I'm trying to think if, even if you go onto Amazon, I'm trying to think. It's got to be, yeah. So I think you should definitely look into another hammer.
Okay.
And even, and I'm a fan of just like when you're getting started to get something just kind of, to get going. Because even the apprentice hammers, which I learned on, is a good way to get started. I think those are like $20 on Amazon.
And you feel like they're okay, like they're heavy enough and balanced enough for, and I'm not big and I'm in my 40s and I have little wrists, like I got to use
Sure.
all the technique to make sure I'm not hurting myself.
Victor is, do we know for sure that Schaff is selling the yawn wall?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it has all 4 variants. They have the extendable one that you have. That's the most expensive, around 4. Oh my god.
That's okay. So Olivia, there's this supply house called Schaff.
Yes.
And have you ever purchased anything from them?
No, I've been on the site though.
Okay. So you'll want to contact them and see if you can get set up and just tell them you're a technician, you're, doing this. But the yawn tuning hammer is the one that I've used for the last 20 years. And I love it. It's got weight to it. It's full tang, if you will. And that's going to be a hammer that you can cross that off the list. Because if you're like me and like a heavier hammer, that's the one I like. And I'll go grab mine so you can see the exact one that I use. And at least you can cross that off the list.
And while he's getting that, what did he say the name of this particular type was with the one? There was a technical name for this, just so I know.
You're right. Did you guys catch that? It's like a
Like-
two something.
A 1/0?
What is it?
Like a 1/0?
Yeah, like a
That's what he
2/0
said.
versus
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a 1/0 tuning pin. You need one that has 2 ribbons. Sorry, my laptop died. Or it'll have a number 2 on it. I recommend Howard Piano Services. What is it? Howard Piano Industries, and he sells the BKB tips, I believe, and the Hale tuning tips, and I think those are pretty universal. I know it's the same threading as the Watanabe and as the Fuyan tips. So I think that might be the best bet because that's something anybody can go to and order from. You don't need a shaft account or anything. So Howard Piano Industries, either a Hale or a BKB number 2 tip.
Yep, and that might be able to just thread right onto what you have, Olivia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you might need to get
Piano-
a tip removal tool. I'm sure he has one there as well. Yeah. Oh, sorry, David. They have the Yan. They have the 4 Yans, yours, the extendable. They have the lightweight one.
So which is this one, Victor? Do you have a part number?
Yeah, let me see. I can look it up. That one, let's see. That one is the most expensive. It's about 400. Let me see.
I paid it off in full in many times over.
Yeah. Yeah, I just played Monopoly this week and for the first time in like 30 years. And yeah, you pay off that boardwalk thing when people land on it. So
yeah, exactly. So this is the one, it's full tang, like what you're used to. It's heavy, it's got weight to it. It has the ball, which I like. And so again, I've been using this for years and years and years. This might be right up your alley because modern hammers are very light. And this has weight to it.
okay. And you said that's the Yan full tang, yeah.
And it's JEHN.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So the Yan with the ball end extendable, the part number is 21-7B.
B as in boy. Yep.
Yes. Okay. And the one without the ball end, just a standard handle. It's a little bit cheaper. It's a little more affordable.
Yeah, you don't want that one. You don't want that one.
No. But they do have the lightweight one. I think you showed that one the other day. It's the Yan pearl handle. It has it's not so exaggerated of a ball, but it still has a kind of a ball shape. That one is pretty affordable. That one's 183, and it still uses the Yan tips and the Yan head.
Yeah, it just is a lot lighter though, Olivia. So that's the only downside to that. If you end up getting one, join one of our classes, especially the Wednesday where we can usually do Q&A, and we'll show you how to customize this because it comes in a different variation, and we'll show you how to remove it so it's just right.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. So tomorrow is Friday. What we do for Fridays, everybody, so just people that are new here, we do usually Mondays is our masterclass Mondays. Wednesdays is workshop where we do Q&A a lot. And then Friday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. No. What do we do? 7 to 8. Pacific Standard Time, we have coffee hour. And that's more of a just what are people working on? What other questions did we not get to? What are some ideas for the things in the future? So we teach 3 days a week.
Busy guy.
Victor, you said there's a tool to take the tip off the hammer?
Yes, I'm getting a link to the deals from Howard right now. I'm going to throw them in the chat.
Okay. I got this from the PTA and it came with other tips and I want to put a different on, but I don't know how.
There should be a large Allen wrench if it came with your tips.
This, Johnny. It looks like this, and that's the tool that you'll use to remove the tuning pit.
Yeah. Oh. The kit came with one, I believe. If you got the
that's it. Put in a
that's
tip
it. You got it.
And put your muscle into it.
All right.
There's actually a trick to it.
There's a lot of things in here I don't know what they do still. So.
Me too.
I put the link to Howard Piano Industries with the number 2 tuning tip.
Thank you so much, Victor.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's an AMS tip, but
I hope it should fit, but they aren't too expensive, you know, compared to like the BKB or even Randy's tip. So I think it's something worth trying out.
Just so you know that there's a trick to doing the tip replacement and getting it really rigid and hard. And this is what it is. And a technician showed me. When you're removing it, this is what you do, is you actually put it on here, put it on the ground like this. See this? And you press down on it. And that will loosen this tip up in general. But usually you have to like stand on it. So, and that'll break it loose. You want it to be that tight. And then the same thing goes for when you're tightening it. Get it to the point and then step on it and really tighten it. You don't have to step on it, but you put a lot of pressure. But putting it on the ground itself is the trick. It's probably one of those things you all knew that, but I didn't know that until not that long ago.
I didn't know that. I almost like ruined my hand getting it off the first time.
I did for like 20 years. All right. Well, I will see hopefully as many of you as possible tomorrow for our coffee hour of coffee together right here. And we'll just go over questions and some schedule stuff and ideas for some follow-up classes that people want and just go from there. Just so you all know, we do have a temporary Facebook page, which you all should go ahead and just be a part of, because we're going to be asking questions, communicating through that, some of the new future stuff that we're planning on doing. So Stacy, are you able to post a link to that?
Mm-hmm. In fact, I might text it to you guys tomorrow morning so you have it, if that's all right. Because it'll go away if I post it here.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then we'll also that's where you'll also see the previous videos for now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Olivia.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here.
One last thing, I put a new link in the chat with the Watanabe one from Howard. That one, I'm pretty sure is gonna fit the Watanabe. I can't guarantee it, but Watanabe fits almost all tips, heads.
Okay. So you're saying if I had that and a big old Allen wrench to take off this other tip, there's a chance. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a chance.
Okay. So it's just if I have a big old Allen wrench at home that fits this, well, should I try that?
I would just ask them I would just purchase one of these at the same time, because they're cheap. They're like
they're square on the end too. They're not Allen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a different size.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Thanks, Justin. That's right.
Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. And I clicked on all your links, Victor. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, I'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.